you want to get started as quick as you can making your own vinyl stickers from home. In the previous video, we looked at the equipment and the materials you're going to need. If you've not seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description. You can check that out later. But this video is all about vector software basics and why I think Inkscape is the best place to start. Before we jump into Inkscape, let's have a quick look at Adobe Illustrator, which everyone knows is the premium, fully featured, industry standard vector software. But I grew up in a time where video games were a one-time purchase and you didn't need to be connected to a server to run them. And I don't know, maybe I'm just showing my age, but the thought of paying nearly $300 a year doesn't really sit very well with me. So let's have a look at other options, like Affinity Designer, which is what I use most of the time now on the iPad. I also have the desktop version, but I prefer the iPad just for the convenience. There is often a sale on, there's one on right now, and I've got 50% off both my iPad and the desktop version. So it's a much more affordable one-off purchase over the Adobe equivalent, and it's still fully featured, and you don't really miss much over Illustrator. And for doing stickers and signs, there's more than enough capability there. Which brings us to Inkscape, a very capable vector designer. It's easy to learn. It's a stable program even on slow machines. My PC is 7 years old. I rarely have a problem with it. It's got a bitmap scan feature, which is really useful. And best of all, it's free. Inkscape has a ton of features, and there's also loads of support out there. If you get stuck with anything, you're only a question away on a forum to getting an answer. And I will be making my own beginner's guide to Inkscape in the same kind of fashion as my Affinity one, but for this video I'm hoping to give you some really useful sticker design specifics. If you don't already have Inkscape installed, just head over to inkscape.org, hover over the download tab, and I would strongly recommend sticking with the current stable version, which is 1.3.2, and then hit the installer and install in the regular way. So let's have a quick rundown of the most used tools in Inkscape. First up, we've got the Move tool. If I click on an object, I can pick it up and move it around. Just go Control-Z to put it back where it was. If I want to pick up more than one object, I can hold down Shift and click on the other object, and that will select both. I'll just Control-Z to put it back where it was. And then click off that. Let's just pick up the car. And then we've got the Node tool. And then I'll click on the object again. You can see all the nodes that make up that image, and I can grab a node and grab the handles, much the same as any other vector software. Let's just put that back to where it was. And then we've got the Shape tool. This is a rectangle. Of course, you've got ellipses and circles, and then we've got like the custom shapes. But we'll stick with the rectangle tool. Let's just draw out a Just click off that. We'll just draw out a rectangle. Now, when we're creating stickers, we're trying to avoid harsh, sharp edges. So I'm just going to go back to the Node tool and use this circle here to drag down and put a radiused edge in. Now, if you look at the image above, you'll see I've just put a slight edge in. It just helps the cutter cut, and it helps the sticker live longer on a surface. One of my favourite tools on any vector software is the pen tool, and Inkscape's no different. It does take a little bit of time to master, but basically it allows you to plot points around your design which are linked together, and you can edit them after you've finished drawing, or you can hold down and drag out to create curves to follow shapes over a photograph or another design underneath. Now if you need a straight edge, perfect straight edge, you can hold down Control, and that will give you 15-degree increments all the way around 360 degrees. And let's just join these two back up to create a circuit. And then you can go to the Node tool and you can grab any of these curves and just bend them however you need. And there's an infinite amount of adjustability. If you want to add in a new node, you can just double click anywhere on the line. And if you need to create a little step, I can put another one there and one in between, and I can pull that out. You've also got the handles. You can stretch and change those shapes however you need to. It's a massively versatile tool which you'll use all the time. Now we've already touched on the node tool in amongst all the other bits and pieces we've been talking about, but the node tool is such an important part of vector work that it deserves its own little section. So across the top here, we've got insert new nodes into selected segments. So if I pick up 2 or more, actually let's just do 2 nodes, let's do those 2 there, and then add has the same effect as clicking on the line, but it will add it in the middle. Of course you can just drag it around, but it will affect the rest of the line. Let's just undo that. I prefer just clicking on the line where I want a new node. You can, with the node selected, you can just hit delete to delete it, or you can use this delete selected nodes button. Next up, we've got join selected nodes. Now at the minute we don't have any open ends, so let's create an open end. Let's click on that node there, and then we can use the next one, which is break path at selected nodes, and that will separate those because we made it all one piece when we drew it originally. Now we can break it apart, and then we can select both of those nodes and join the selected nodes back together. Or we could break them apart again, and we can join selected nodes with a new segment. So which, now if I just select both of them, it needs 2 to make the bridge. That joins them with a little bridge section. No guesses for the last button does. Delete segment between 2 non-endpoint nodes, which removes it again. And then of course you can just overlap them and join them back up. After that, we've got 4 more options. Make selected nodes a corner. So for example, I can pick up this handle here, and that will affect both sides of the curve, as the same as the other one will affect both sides of the curve. If I select that node and click on the make selected nodes a corner, that will separate those 2 handles, and you can operate the curves independently. And then if I want to rejoin those, I can go make selected nodes smooth, and that will put it back. And these 2 make selected nodes symmetric and auto smooth, just basically have a similar effect. It kind of just smooths out the sharp edges and makes them more uniform curves. Next, we've got to talk about text on Inkscape, and there's a few things you need to know as far as vinyl cutting versus designing. I'll take the first example. We've got nice thick blocky text that would send straight to the cutter. I'll be quite confident that even a small cut, even though it was just a couple of inches long, it will probably well, maybe 4 inches long, I don't know, a small size would cut reasonably well at that. This one, on the other hand, is not going to be so forgiving. Now, the problem is we've got these overlaps. We'll just zoom in. So the edge of this is where if I just click on the nodes, so show you the nodes, that is where the edge of the blade is going to follow. So it's going to do the P, come around, finish off, and it'll move to the E, and then it's going to come back through that P, which is going to leave a little island of vinyl. And that's probably, because especially a small size, that's going to fly out or jam the machine. That's what usually happens to me. And a big size, it would probably still stay there, but you're going to have this unnecessary cut. So we've got to get rid of that. And the way we do that is by using the Boolean operations. So if I'll just go to the move tool and then go path and then union, that will join in. It'll sort of blend all that together. So let me just undo that so you can see what's happened. So yeah, path union. You'll use that so often. Oh, I didn't select it. It's one of my most used Boolean expressions on here. And the same with the stroke lines. If I just pick up the node tool, that red line is literally the path that the blade will follow. So even though it's represented as green on the screen, if we sent that to the cutter as it is, you'd just end up with one V-shaped cut in your vinyl, and you wouldn't have this. So in this case, we've got to go path and then it's not an object, it's a stroke. So stroke to path, and that will move that red line. You'll still see it occasionally, but it'll move to the outside. Now we've got a red line around the outside, and that's what we'll cut. That's what you've got to do on everything that you send to your cutter. Make sure you've gone stroke to path and union, and you'll be good. And while we're here, just an extra bonus tip for you lot, because I love you. I've just thought I'd better show you how to do text to a path. So if you want your text to follow a path, I've had to revert this back to, because we made it into an object, we did stroke to path, so I've had to undo that. So it's once again, it's a path, or else text to path won't work on an object. So let's just pick up our text, hold down shift, pick up our path, and then it's really easy. You just go text, put on path, and let's just pick up our path. As we bend our path, you can do all sorts of cool effects. And if you go into the text editor, you can hit the space bar, you can move it around, but I'll probably do a whole other video on stuff like this later on. But I thought while we're here, I thought I'd show you. And that's about it for this video. If you're a beginner, I don't want to completely blow your mind with all the stuff that Inkscape can do in one video. This is a series. I will be building it out every few days to a week. I'm going to be adding to this playlist. If you have found the video useful, please do give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe. My name's Dan. You'll get used to me. This is Petrol Vectors.